Hello beautiful people, good morning. Again another glorious day. This is day 8 of the 15-day birthing into the light body journey. I called it a taster course, but actually it's a real journey that we're taking, so I'm really glad to be sharing this with you. I hope you're enjoying it. So, as you know, we've been talking about how the spirit incarnates, manifests, actualizes, becomes the tangible this that we can relate to and have an experience of. And today we're in the sacral center. Now, I have my own version, I think. I'm a soul reader and I feel energies and I use my hands and I see and I hear and I do all kinds of stuff. And my experience of feeling into people's bodies and feeling into their energy centers is like this. So I talked about the solar plexus the other day, and then yesterday the belly, the navel center. That's my belly button there. I don't know if you can quite see. And you know, this soft womb memory. And then the sacral center is just between the pubic bone and the belly button. And this is something that this is a place that I experience to be where we store the memory of our conception. And it's the most incredible place. I'm in love with this part of us. I'm in love with this part of myself. It's just so incredible. It's like stepping into the universe. I call it my cauldron of creation. And actually I'm going to talk about that in a few days. That's the feminine aspect. And today we're kind of talking about the masculine aspect of that co-creation, of that conception. The conception of you by your parents, your birth parents, and your conception of you by the creative forces, the divine masculine and the divine feminine, as they came together to create you. And I call that your divine essence. So first of all, I'm just going to take you on a little imagination journey and imagine that this is your Father creating you. Now, first of all, we come from spirit, we come from inspiration. There's your Father, he has an inspiration. It forms into an intention of something that he's going to create, something he's going to put into the world, and hopefully and potentially this is you that he's inspired to create, that he's intending to create. He has insight, he has a vision. And then he communicates that with your mother. And he shares this beautiful vision, this beautiful intention and inspiration he has to create and to create you. And he believes in you and he loves you already. He's loving you into being. He loves his woman. And between them, they're going to create you from a place of love. And he wants to give to her. That's a man's innate instinct and innate nature, whether you realize it or not, guys. You are the divine masculine incarnate, and your nature, like spirit, is to give in everything that you are into matter, into being, into the mother nature of this earth. Whether it's your woman or whether it's the earth or whether it's the goddess, it's all the divine feminine. That's your main focus. Now you're probably some of you will probably disagree with me, and I say go ahead, put your comments down there, because we can talk about that. But my experience is spirit moves into form. Spirit's nothing floating around up there on its own. It can't be experienced, it can't be expressed, it can't be dreamed, it can't be felt, you know. And here we are, this perfect vessel created by the Mother Matter to do all of this stuff. So here we are, and you're loving what you're going to create, you're giving in of your power, you're surrendering in your power down into the womb, into the feeling area, into the emotions, connecting with your emotional intention, your emotional love, you know, and surrendering and releasing that and dropping it down into your sacral center. And this is the beautiful part. Here you are putting in the ingredients for your seed. Everything that I've just described is what you're putting in, you're formulating, you're taking from spirit, and you're condensing and condensing and condensing and condensing until you just have seed. And that's the most incredible gift. This is what you're formulating here. And whether that's a child or whether that's your business or whether that's your art or whatever that is that you're putting into the world, essentially this is how you manifest, this is how you create, whether you're aware of it or not. And obviously, if you're not coming from those pure places, if you're not coming from a place of consciousness and alignment and intention, and you're really not focused, you're really not clear on your intention, you're really not inspired from the divine, you're motivated from some other force, and you're not coming from a place of love, and you're not surrendering into the feeling and the emotion and the feminine and the chaos, and maybe just not knowing, like when we talked about the solar plexus, when the sun seems like it sinks down into the ocean. Doesn't really. Doesn't lose its power, but it seems like that. And that can be a man's fear, to lose his power to the feminine, to lose his power to the emotions. But that is your power, to do that, to surrender that in, so that you can give this incredible condensed seed that you're creating between you and your divine self, your great spirit of you. And so, people, for you to imagine, how were you conceived by your father? Did he have all of those things in place? Was he aware? Was he conscious? And if he wasn't, and chances are he wasn't, because let's face it, we've all got conditioning. We've all come from pretty unconscious places. You know, we're only just realizing so much now and awakening to who we are and our potential, that most of us didn't have that kind of, some of those things might have been there. Obviously you were loved into being because you're here. But, think about the ingredients that your father put into creating you. Because those will be your conditioning elements. Those will be what you carry down here as creating the foundation of your life. If you think about it, your conception is the moment you began to have this opportunity of being. It's your foundation, my friends. And if that foundation is a cocktail of shame and guilt and unconsciousness and not feeling really aligned with love, not feeling really clear, as a lot of people are, we carry a lot of unconscious shame and guilt right down here in our sacral center. That gets passed on from generation to generation to generation. It gets conceived again and again. And often as well, talking about conception, that conditional conception can be conditional concepts that your father has about himself, that he has about life. And in so putting those into the ingredients of his seed, created you, and therefore you then believe that you are the concepts of your father. You think it's about you. And this is a massive misconception, that you think and believe those things are true about you, and in fact it's what your father thinks and believes is true about him and about the world and his place in the world. And in fact then you take it back to the generation previously, and perhaps actually he's a product, he's a result of his father's unconscious limiting conceptions about himself, then seeded into your father. And so it goes on. So, that begs the question, so who are we really? Are you the concepts, the ideas, the formulas passed on through the generations of your father? Is that who you are? Or is there something else to you, something way more perfect, something way more magical? Because you were preconceived by the divine forces. Spirit, the all that is, had a grand plan, had a massive, major, big bang of an inspiration to create life, to create form, to create humanity, to create the very vessel, the very feeling, experiential vessel that could experience the all that is and still have a separate experience. I mean, that's amazing. That's like creating the seemingly impossible. And that's what creation wanted. That's what the Great Spirit wanted. And preconceived you into being. If you think about it, you've been preconceived and being in gestation for millions of years, just so that you could be here right now in the very exact form that you are. And this is where that divine essence, that ultimate seed of the Great Spirit, was planted inside of you, right in your sacred center, where the God joined with the goddess, with the matter, with the mother to create you. And here you are, perfect. So both those things are happening right down here. And again, you won't remember your conception. This is way below the level of consciousness. This is started to get right in the earth, you know. And here I am sitting by these roses, sitting with this soil here, and it's like, it seems like dead, dark lump of matter that doesn't do an awful lot. That's kind of what it's like. That's how we relate to ourselves, those forgotten parts, those unconscious parts. And your conception is that left in the unconscious. It's left in the soil, seemingly dark and out of your light, out of your sight. And yet, actually, you can feel down. You can bring your awareness anywhere, my friend. You can bring light anywhere, your light, your inspiration, your knowing, and feel and connect to the knowing here. Something knows what it was doing to create you. That's inside of you. You can feel that. So, my question today is, consider, are you preconceived? Were you preconceived to be here? Just consider that and wonder on that and feel about that and breathe about that. And then ask, what is your essence? If you are a unique seed from God planted in the earth and you've grown, do you want to get in touch with that? Do you want that to grow? Because if you do, you want to grow from your very essence, from what you were preconceived divinely to be. You need to get in touch with it, or it's not going to start to grow. Seeds need to be watered, or nothing grows. You need to give it your attention. So if you want to know about your essence and know what you were preconceived divinely to be, consider that. What is your essence, and how can you get in touch with that? What needs to happen? These are powerful questions. These are powerful things to feel and connect to, and it will completely change your perspective. It will completely change your life, like turning the baby upside down on its head to be born. And you can have a beautiful experience in that place of just checking in with yourself. So I hope that makes sense. Please, if you have questions, send them to me. I love this subject. This divine preconception and the conditioning is just my area of juiciness. I love it. I see so much about it. I read people's conceptions and can tell them how they were conceived, and it all makes sense when you look at the foundations of how you got to be here in this body by your parents, and also what your divine essence is. Everything starts to make sense when you look at the foundations and you realize what's been built on top of maybe feeling very unstable, unsafe foundations, of why maybe your life is the way it is, and why maybe it's all falling apart. And it needs to. You need to level. You need to get right back down to those foundations and understand them and live them anew, live them afresh, live from a new foundation of your divine self rather than your mentally conceived self that's just not stable. So I love you, over and out. And look me up. Come look at my website, www.taraloveperry.com. I just love sharing. I run courses. I got so much to share with you and so much to support you to tap in and feel for yourself. And I've got tools and ways of doing that so that you can have these experiences as well. You can tap in and read energies and feel things that you never knew that you could feel. And you can. And I love to support that. Get in touch with me. Have the most beautiful day. And actually, I'm just going to say, I chose to sit by these roses today, thinking about, you know how they say life isn't a bed of roses. It's not all a bed of roses. And maybe you weren't conceived in a bed of roses. Maybe it wasn't perfect. It probably wasn't. And yet, look how beautiful it is. The potential is there. My phone's ringing, so I'm going to go. Mwah, I love you so much, and I will see you tomorrow.